Welcome, Wrestle Buddies, to the Wrestle Buddy podcast. I'm your host, as always, Andy, and today I'm joined by an amazing guest, the one, the only, Erick Redbeard. How are we doing, Erick?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Yeah, not bad, mate, not bad. As I said, nice Sunday afternoon. It's Mother's Day here in the UK, so I said I had to do a bit of negotiating to do this interview to make sure that my missus was happy and managed a meal and a film Friday night, and we're all good, so we're all good to go. How about yourself? Good Sunday so far?
Yeah, everything good. Typical nice little Sunday. Getting warm again. I'm from Minneapolis, so it's nice to actually get temperatures. You don't got to wear a coat outside.
Do you know what? It's not being too bad here either. It's been 20 degrees here today, which is really, really hot for Liverpool. We're right by the Irish Sea. And it's it's not too bad, to be honest, for March going into April. It's not too bad, which is good. So first of all, mate, thanks so much for joining us. I always like to start with the guests and ask them, what made you get into professional wrestling? What was your early thoughts on wrestling, your stuff like that?
Remember watching it when I was a small child, and that was about it. And then when I got into high school, it was about 99, 2000. When I was about to graduate, I started watching again, started getting into it, started seeing guys like Kane and Test have matches. I think there was a pay-per-view I watched at a buddy's house, and it was Kane and Test. And I don't know why those two stuck out to me. It must be because they're about 6'7", 300 plus pounds. And I was like, this is cool. College, we started watching a little bit more. And in 2002, I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit school, Mom, and I'm going to, become a professional wrestler. And she was really happy. No, not at all. And then became a journey in itself to get signed. So, it all came from like a love of watching it and seeing. I think I went to a show. It was the first show I'd ever went to. I'd never gone to like a WCW, ECW, a WWE. I never went to one of their shows until I started working with the company. That was always a goal of mine. For me, I went to like an independent show, and I saw Jerry Lynn versus like a local, big guy. And this is right after he won the WWF, Cruiserweight Championship. But he was fulfilling some dates. So like to me, I was like, oh, hey, it's the guy I see on the ECW, the guy I saw in WWF. So like to me, I thought that was really cool. And then it kind of got a spark on me to ask the people that were running that show, who coincidentally were Eddie Sharkey and Terry Fox, who I ended up training with later on.
And then you went to Florida Championship Wrestling, didn't you? From there.
Yeah,
that was kind of your first step.
After years of struggling on the indies, I was a single father in 2006, basically doing the indies for fun on the weekends, but I had to stay in the Minnesota area, which is like the kiss of death for most wrestlers, to stay in the same area and not try to get out there and, promote yourself and book yourself and get better against different people. But luckily, the time I got signed, everything kind of worked out for me to be able to move to Florida with my son. And everything worked out the way it was supposed to. I'm glad I didn't get signed sooner, because then I wouldn't have been a part of the Wyatt family and all that. So like everything happened for a reason.
Brilliant. And just go with the Wyatt family, obviously. Did that start in Florida, or was that when you got to the main roster? It's kind of, they picked you up from there and said, this is the guy for the family?
What was funny was like it started down in the early days of like the NXT, the first NXT reboot, when they went from NXT doing challenges on the road to NXT being its own brand per se, which was obviously a developmental brand, just the switch from FCW to NXT. Yeah, and my debut on that show was a few weeks after Brodie had debuted as the first son of Bray Wyatt. So then I became the second son, like, and I was told like a week before, even though we had practiced and done like, promos together, me and Luke were a tag team together. So like, we were doing things before that, but like it wasn't official until we were on that NXT show together, the three of us. And then it evolved after we did our first photo shoot vignettes where, we brought the mask in, and everything kind of evolved to when we made our first debut on the main roster.
And when you were kind of going through these early stages and that, did you take a step back and think, fuck, this is going to be as big as what it become, or was it just something that evolved over time?
Man, it evolved over time. It wasn't until we actually got called up to the road, because, I didn't think we were going to get called up to the road. We were told to our face that it was just going to be Bray. That us, me and Luke wouldn't get called up with them. Like, that was just unfathomable. And, I was like close to quitting. Like, I'd been in developmental for a few years. I wasn't making money at all. Like, it's kind of hard to support people when you're making less than $750 a week. Like, it was bad. It was a struggle. I started having to take out Scott loans to try to survive, and I basically said, if I don't get this call up, like, I'm gonna have to quit because I can't afford to. I left a steady job where I was making money, and it's like, what am I supposed to do? But luckily, everything worked out the way it did, and we got called up when we did. And I think it was after we shot those vignettes and we started seeing the reactions, and when we first came out, that we were like, oh shit, this is going to be a big deal.
And I know there's a lot of things that say Bray obviously is a very creative mind and stuff like that. How much did you have creatively involved yourself? Did you get a lot of input yourself, or was it?
So like, we would do a lot with like how we conceived ourselves and our own characters. Obviously, Bray was the mouthpiece. So the mouthpiece, he's creatively thinking of how to explain himself and do things in different directions. And then we have these two guys in the background. Well, we have to be completely different, but we have to look like we belong with him. And so there was always, like, ideas that me and him would have for things that didn't get shot, like things that would get shot down. I remember we wanted to do these kidnapping angles, but they never let us show what happened when we kidnapped him, because that would have been great character development for me and Brodie, where I always tried to be the one that was like nice, kind of like Leatherface, where he's trying to be nice to somebody, and then you got Chop Top slapping him across the face, being like, don't do that, what are you doing? Ties him back up. And then I give the guy some food, and I feed the guy some food, feeling bad, but then he spills the food. Like, just little things like that I think would have helped. But like, I think we portrayed that without having to show it to the best of our ability. So it's just little nuances and different things like that. There were different times where I would help stage sets, just because, like, in the background you'd have like newspaper clippings, and I'd be like, well, how about if we type a little something? So like, just little stuff like that. That was what I like to do, like just like the little Easter egg things. And Bray was always thinking about, like, the big picture of what everyone sees right away. And I always thought about the background, like making us more important without having to speak.
Yeah, I totally get you. And did you get any advice off any like wrestlers or anything like that? I mean, the one that comes to mind with not being speaking is Kane, because obviously Glenn Jacobs always says about moving his head with the mask on and the little things he had to learn how to do. Did you get any kind of advice off people about stuff like that?
I think it was more just watching what they did and then wanting to be a little different. Like, I love the fact that I could wear a mask, but then take it off during the night. I didn't have to wear it all the time.
Yeah.
I wore it when I was in the background, then I would take it off. I could still take it off and talk or whatever, but like, I think it was like a lot of those advice and things came like from just being able to work those people. You know what I mean? Like, I was fortunate enough to be able to do quite a few house show loops where it was just me and Glenn, and I got to pick his brain after the matches. He was very giving as a performer, and just being out there, and coming from somebody that, watched him, and wanting to get into the business because you saw him, and then being able to work these arenas, one-on-one and, pick his brain. I mean, that's, you can't,
no.
that's like, I don't know, you can't pay for that knowledge.
No, it's invaluable, isn't it? So obviously you started off in the Florida, you went to NXT, then you come to the main roster. How did it feel when you got told you were coming up to the main roster?
It's a relief, obviously, but then it's like, okay, well, we got to get to work and we got to perform and we got to do things, and so it was a little bit of that, and then just being a sponge and just trying to learn from everybody I could learn from to try to improve myself, because when you're in developmental for so long, and especially then, they try to get a lot of habits away from you that necessarily weren't bad habits. And it's funny just thinking back, like there's a lot of things, just like different moves I did, just like a move that I was told not to do because it was too indie-like. And or that's not what a big guy would do, as far as like having to fall out. And I was like, and it took a while for me individually to like get rid of that mindset. And I think, Brodie helped a lot with me trying to get, scratch that side of me of what I was thinking out. So, but like, being on the roster, especially during that time with working guys like, Punk and Bryan and Ray, and like just being able to work all these different people, it just brings out a lot of you and makes you the best performer you can be.
And how did you have much kind of stuff with Vince, any kinds of interactions or anything like that with him?
Yeah. So, I like, as time went by, especially with the Wyatt family going in and out and like whatever. And I think when we first split, I was pretty quiet. I wasn't coming up with ideas because I kind of trusted the process. I trusted the process of, we tell you what to do, you do it to the best of your ability, and then when things get dropped or things don't work out, or you're supposed to play a babyface that loses all the time, but you can't get a crowd behind you for sympathy. I mean, you're not really given a fair shot. And I think it was after that I started pushing more for different ideas. And like, I remember I went out and filmed a bunch of vignettes with Jason Baker, like just of the character I want it to be. And I think I did a talking smack once that I requested per Vince, specifically. I said, let me show you what I want this character to be. So I think I did a talking smack, and he was watching like right back. And I did a 5-minute on the fly segment. Nobody wrote a script, and it was just, hey, go. And it's in front of the boss. So it's like, it was just stuff like that. I got more confident doing things. Yeah. But like, with any job, you have the peaks and valleys, and they're gonna say do this, do that. Like, I thought I was on a great run with my character developmental with the Daniel Bryan Roman Reigns story, where I actually got to speak on the mic and be this character, and people started to invest. Then that draft happened, and I was handed a cage and told to be quiet. So yes, we had some disagreements as far as like what I was doing, but at the end of the day, your job is to be a performer and perform what is written for you to the best of your ability. And it's not to cause problems. The show's 3 hours long. Yeah. He doesn't have time to deal with this. That's bull crap. Like, so like, to me, it's like, I offer suggestions on how to make it better in my head. They may not be right, but if they're shot down, then I have no choice but to keep doing what I got to do. So like, I never.
When it gets shut down, though, did you ever used to go back and say, well, why? Because if you're ever going to evolve and stuff like that, as you're saying, you're trying to go through this process and do this thing. Well, if someone just fucking shoots you down all the time, how were you ever meant to get better with something? Do you know what I mean? Did they ever give you advice of why they were shooting stuff down, or what was the thought process of them, so that you could help evolve yourself and get to that next level?
I asked that question like the first day I was handed the cage. Well, why? I was told a reason. The reason didn't happen for certain reasons. And then it just kept going on. Then I come up with other suggestions. Oh, we love it, but we're going to go this route. And that by that point, it's not that I was checked out. It's just that after a certain amount of time, it just becomes too much of a headache to have to go and wait outside an office for an hour to possibly not even get an answer.
Yeah, and that's probably the frustrating thing about it, because even in my job as well, if there's something that I pitch and it doesn't get done, or I'm trying to push something and it's like, well, okay, but why? And it's not a why. Someone said to me in the past, well, you're coming across like you're being confrontational here. I said, I'm not trying to be confrontational. I'm trying to learn here. So unless you tell me why, how am I ever meant to alter my thought process and bring you something that you actually want? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, even if it's just a fucking 2-minute conversation of, well, this is why I don't want it. It still needs to be something coming back at you, because how are you ever meant to alter that thought process?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I totally get that, and many times I asked why to other people, and that didn't know the answer. That probably should have, because they were, the head of creative at the time. They should have known the answer to this.
Because otherwise, if you don't have a kind of direction of what they want you to do and stuff like that, we have a saying here in the UK called pissing in the dark. So it's like, if you piss in the dark, you don't know where you're aiming. So you just got to try and piss until you hit where you're meant to. And it's like the same kind of thing with this, isn't it? If you don't know where you're aiming, what are you meant to do?
Yeah.
So go back to obviously, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but because I like to try and keep it as chronologically as I can. But just with that kind of, with the cage and stuff like that, what was actually meant to happen with that? What was and why didn't it happen?
Originally, it was supposed to lead to a feud with Seth involving the death of a rat accidentally, and which intrigued me as a character, because you get this big guy who has to deal with this grief and then come to terms with this grief, and then
so was Steph meant to kill it, which started the feud, was it?
Yeah, and why would you not want to feud with Seth and something that could have meant something like? But then obviously he went from babyface to heel maybe 2 weeks after the fact. So then that whole thing got dropped, and then they just didn't know what was in the cage. They kept giving me TV time, which you can't get mad with TV time.
No,
but how many people can you squash and not continue to tell the story? So to me, it just got old and repetitive, and you try to make every squash match a little different and tell a little bit more of a story of the cage, but sometimes I wasn't allowed to.
Did you once the kind of didn't go with that stuff with Seth and it was just carrying on and on and on, did you start getting to the point where you felt like it might be coming towards the end of the run? Did them type of feelings come into you, or was it a shock when that happened?
What do you mean?
So, when they started just going on with this story with the cage and it wasn't going anywhere, and it was just, as you said yourself, it's getting stale. Did you start thinking this could be the end of me run here, or did you feel like you had something else for them to do? Was there any other plans to do something else after this whole cage thing?
Coming from the run I had prior to doing this run, and this story, I felt the only way to stop this story is for me to deal with some sort of loss and then go back to what I was doing, which was, speaking and what I mean? There was only, I could only go up from there. Yeah. And I think it was even when they revealed what it was, which I was given less than 2 hours of notice, hey, we're filming this today. Before we go live, so they revealed it, and then the next week they say they're going to kill it, even though I had other ideas, which I always kept the emails of my rights, but even when they killed it, I was like, well, they killed something of mine. Now I can go somewhere from here. It's gone. I can go somewhere from here. And they had invested so much television time on me. The last thing on my mind was, oh, well, you're going to be gone. But then COVID happened. And the last live show I was on was the live show that COVID happened, and I was used every week. So to me, it was a surprise only in the fact that I was used every week until COVID, and they started using guys that were closer to Florida and whatnot. But like, and then even the week that they released everybody, I got my first travel to go to Orlando to film, and I was excited to get back to work. I'd been working out at a friend's house over 45 minutes away to try to keep in shape because all the gyms were closed. So like I was doing everything I could to keep on top of everything, and I got travel. I got excited, and then I was called the day before saying, plans changed. Your travel's been canceled this week. I'm like, okay. And then everybody gets this mass message from Vince saying the economy's changed, life's changed, things are going to change. And then the phone calls started, and then all the releases happened.
So how did you find out your release? Did you get a phone call, or was it just an email?
I was in the gym. I drove 45 minutes away to work out.
Would like to talk to.
Sorry about that. It's my internet. Me, Alexa there. Somebody trying to ring me so apologies. So yeah, did you get a phone call and it was explained to you in a nice way, or was it just kind of very abrupt?
So basically 45 minutes drive, worked out, trying to keep in shape, you know what I mean? And because I was like, I got a call this week, maybe I'll get a call next week, get back to work. And I get a call, I answer it, hello. Last thing I'm thinking is I'm getting let go, because that's the last thing anybody thinks, really, even though everybody was given a warning.
Yeah.
And it was kind of just like, hey, bad news. We got to let you go. Bye. Like 60-second conversation for, 10 years.
Who was that with? Was that Johnny Ace, was it, or was that somebody else?
This was Carano, but like Johnny Ace, Carano, they have the same job. Like it's sorry, goodbye. And cool. Like, all right. Obviously shock, whatever. Whenever somebody loses their job, especially a job that long, it's just like, what? And literally 12 hours later, I get a call, from David Arquette about doing a film, which actually is going to be at Grimfest in Manchester next month. So things all happen for a reason. So other opportunities opened up. I did that film, got me into the SAG, and I've done a few projects with them, as well after that, as well as doing other wrestling things. So it's just, it opens your eyes to other things, but as bad as things get, things always look up. I mean, people deal with this stuff all the time. And this was the first job I've ever been let go of. Like, I've had a good track record of being the one to quit jobs. So,
So is that the plan now? Is it to do just more than just wrestling? It's to kind of try and get into all these different industries and do different things now?
Of course. And, as much as I love wrestling, acting doesn't hurt so much. You get black eyes and whatever. But, I love wrestling, and I'm going to do it as long as I can. I'm probably in better shape now than I was when I was on the road full time, which I'm sure a lot of guys say, but it's just one of those things where it's like, you got to look towards the future and what is going to make you happy. And, I love being a true independent contractor in a sense where I can do anything. I can show up anywhere. I was able to do the AEW for a couple shows, and it was just stuff like that. That's like, this is fun. It's great. That was my first time in 2 years being in an arena, almost to the day. So like, to me, it was cool, and it was just, it's humbling.
Yeah, and the thing is, even people who have gone on to be massive Hollywoods, the Rock, he still loves coming back to wrestling, which takes us to our next question. Nice little segue there. You got in the ring with the Rock at WrestleMania. How did you find out about that, and what was your thoughts when you found out that was going to happen?
So we had nothing going on. The only thing that I knew we were going to do was probably the Andre the Giant battle, Memorial Battle Royale.
That's being relegated to SmackDown now, isn't it? It's not even on the show anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But No. So I found out maybe like 2 days before Mania, like, hey, you're gonna work The Rock, and it's gonna be this quick little deal. But and I was like, okay, like it's a paycheck and it's a good opportunity, and The Rock was gracious enough to want to have a stare off, which made me look big, and I was good with that.
And what was he like backstage? Did he come and speak to you beforehand and stuff like that, or was it just straight to business?
I mean, he had his own, room and whatnot, separate from the boys. I mean, it's The Rock.
It's The Rock, yeah.
He's got his entourage with him and whatnot. But yeah, man, just nice guy. Like, got nothing bad to say about the experience. Do I wish I could have got a few punches in on him? Yeah, but
yeah.
shortest match in WrestleMania history is not a bad way to go.
No. That's it, isn't it? And obviously it was with as well. So, you worked with some really good talent during your time in WWE. We're going to move on from WWE soon, but just a few more questions regarding that. Is like, what was it like working with Taker? I mean, you've said about Glenn. What was it like working with Undertaker? What was he like to work with? And was he a nice guy backstage as he seems?
Oh, Glenn?
Sorry, Undertaker.
Oh, Taker. Oh, Taker's a great guy. He would give you advice, and he's not one to give advice unless he sees something in you. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to pull you aside for no reason. Like for a guy like him to just take the time to pull you aside and give you a couple pointers or whatnot without you even having to ask. Like, yeah, like it means a lot, and the things that he says, stick through to you. So like, it's cool. He's a great guy. Like, the only regret I had when I was up there is I was told that when we did the match with the Wyatts versus Brothers to Destruction, originally it was supposed to be me and Brodie versus Taker and Glenn. And the week of the show, it all changed to Wyndham and Brodie. So obviously I was upset about that.
Yeah,
I never got the proper chance to have a match with him, but things happen for a reason. You can't dwell on it too much, but I do wish I would have had the chance to do that match, especially with Brodie.
Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to ask about the Wyatt family before we move on is Braun Strowman, Adam Scherr coming into the mix with you. Did you think it was overkill, or do you think it freshened you up a little bit?
Man, I was hurt, and it was just those two. It's kind of hard to be a family with just two guys,
Yeah.
I mean, the Bludgeon Brothers worked because it was brothers, and it was kind of like our little take and nod to the Brothers of Destruction, and but I was hurt sitting at home, and I saw it happen. I was given a little heads up that, hey, this guy's coming in. Oh, cool, and I saw the black mask, and I was like, all right, interesting. But, yeah. Then when I got back, it's like we're all together. So it worked, I guess. But it's kind of hard to have three monsters behind one guy, and the monsters have to be the ones that take the falls. Well, when you have a bigger monster behind you that can't take those falls, he's got to be creatively taken out. It became a little bit of a hassle for us to be losing.
Yeah.
When one guy would just disappear for long segments of the match, and be like, "Well, where was that big monster?" But it was fun, and it was fun to do like live events with them, and that way we could split the Wyatt family up, where it would be sometimes it would be me and Braun on one side, and we'd be fighting Big Show and Kane or something, and the other side would be Wyndham and Luke, and just kind of vice versa. It was kind of fun to split that up between the two live events going on that week, and then show back up at TV and not have to be around each other all the time. But it was fun.
No, brilliant. Okay, well, I'm just going to read some comments from some of the guys who are writing comments here. I don't want to ignore them for too long, so we'll just rinse through a few of them. So, Erick, greetings from Spain. That's from WWE 2018. We've got Wrestling YEIT Nick. Greetings to the best beard in the business. It is the best. Do you know what, mate? It's a fucking magnificent beard. It really is. I had a beard until today, and I had to shave it because I couldn't let it be next to that magnificent mound that you have on your face. So Nick's right there.
And one day, I will promise this. One day on either AEW, WWE, or any other bigger like wrestling promotion, you will see a beard versus hair match. I promise you that.
Right. Michael, hello, Eric, everyone. Eric, are you going to be the leader of the Dark Order?
I can give him an answer to that immediately. No. That's Brodie's legacy. He created that in the short amount of time that he was with us, and I want him to always be remembered as the leader of that group.
Yeah, brilliant. Two separate questions from WWE fame. How happy were you for Kofi winning the title in the MetLife? Is question one.
Well, first off, I was trying to help Daniel Bryan win, so I was not happy. I was pissed off. But no, side note, I was very happy for Kofi.
And you remember seeing backstage Brodie saving Mustafa Ali's life in his neck?
Yes, I do. And Brodie was really mad coming backstage after that.
Go on. Do you want to tell us the story?
I just know it involves, if you go back and watch it, you'll see what happened to cause him to save his neck, and he maybe got a little bit of a nudge more than he should have, and he was not happy about it. But wrestling things happen. I'm not gonna point fingers or anything, but yeah. Brodie was hot.
And what do you think about Ali? Just obviously, while we talk about Ali on that point, is it seems like he's the opposite at the moment, trying to get out of WWE. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter and that, free Ali and all this stuff. What's your thoughts on all that with him?
This is what I don't understand, and this is where I think I know I talked to Brodie about this when he requested his release. Like I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know if you requested it, but don't air your laundry. Like, you don't need to be airing your laundry in front of everybody on Twitter. Like, if you have personal grievances and want to get out, go straight to the source. And if you and him aren't seeing eye to eye, you did sign a contract. And unfortunately, those contracts protect one side, and that's the business.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say there. They can bin you off anytime, but if you're not happy, you can't go. So it is one way, isn't it? But
that's the way it is. I hope he gets what he wants. I'm not saying that what he did is bad, but like, to me, it's just leave your business to the business side. Don't try to. If you try to use the internet to get your way, storylines or real life, or just, it's going to backfire on you, because nobody likes to be told or called out for what they're doing wrong in their business. But, I don't know the whole story. I hope he gets what he wants. I hope he gets out, and I hope he gets to do the things that he wants to do.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on from the Bryan family now, from the Wyatt family. You turned around and you were leaving the Wyatt family, it was breaking up. What was your initial thoughts to that? Was it an excitement to kind of, okay, now this is my time to get out the background, or what was your initial thoughts when they said they were breaking you up?
No, I was excited, and then every week I'd be told like different things to do, and I didn't always agree with them, but like, I was just happy to be, like, I was kind of like, I'm excited, and there was just some things I just didn't agree with all the time, but like.
And what was the thoughts when you got the Bludgeon Brothers?
So the Bludgeon Brothers came right after I had pitched all this stuff for my character with Talking Smack, and like, I really had a firm grasp of like what I wanted to do, and for the first time, separate from when I had to run before by myself. And I was excited, and I thought that they were going to go for it. Vince was there watching the thing, and then less than a couple of weeks later, I'm told, hey, we're going to put you guys back together, and you guys are going to be this. And my first thought was like, well, how the hell is this going to work? Like, what are we going to do? That's different. They showed us some pictures that look like Demolition, like with the,
I loved them because I thought it was a total throwback.
But a guy like me, I'm not going to look good in that leather unless I'm looking like one of the weird motorcycle guys from Weird Science. It's just it's gonna look weird on me. So luckily, I was able to give some ideas to our own person to be able to drop some stuff, some sketches, and then they gave it back to them, and then their people went off of those sketches and came up with the Bludgeon Brother look, which, for as different as it was from what we were used to being seen as, I love being able to keep the mask, and incorporate that. Yeah. And have it, they told us we're having these hammers. Or mallets, as we were allowed to call them, because he couldn't call them hammers because it was confused with the sledgehammer. And another buddy of mine was able to help, make those personalized and build those. They were heavy. They were 40 pounds of pure wood. But the whole look came together, and our chemistry as a tag team just kept getting better and better. Yeah. So I wish we would have had a longer run, but
yeah,
what it was.
Well, the thing is, after you've done that, you've done probably my favourite gimmick that you did in the WWE, which was the Save the Planet stuff with Daniel Bryan. I thought it was awesome. And as you said there, we finally got to see the person shining through. What was your thoughts when you got paired with Daniel Bryan? Did you think, yes, this is the one for me now?
Well, at first, I come back after being injured. I injured myself, and then we wrestled on SmackDown, where we lost the titles, and I thought it was a great match on SmackDown with Kofi and Woods and the Bludgeons. That was the last Bludgeon Brother match, and it was this crazy ladders, just wreckage, carnage match, street fight. It was a blast. Even though I had my bicep torn up to here, the whole match. I was pissed the whole day because I was in pain. It wasn't fun, and I was told it was going to be a short little match, and it ended up being a 2-segment match. It was a long day, but the doc, the trainer took care of me, really taped that thing up, and if you watch the match back, you can't even tell my arm was torn. But going from that to being gone for 4 months rehab every day and trying to get better, I was we're getting back, because they're not using Brodie that whole time I'm gone. So I'm okay, well, they're putting us back together. That's what they got to be saving them for. And then when I get back, basically the week I get cleared, I'm told, hey, next week's Rumble, you're going to be with Daniel Bryan. Do you have any plaid shirts? And I'm like, what? So to me, to go from what I was doing to wearing these plaid shirts, I'm like, are you out of your mind? That was my first thought. And then my second thought was, what about Brodie? So, I called him. I wanted him to know specifically, because I've never got to go behind anybody's back. I want to get, if you're with the tag team, you're with the tag team. I want permission to be able to do anything. Even though I'm told to do it, it's my job. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to call. So we had a conversation. He just wanted me to work. That's all he wanted to do was work. So we had an understanding. I had to talk Vince out of the day of the Rumble. They wanted to cut my beard down to make it the same size as Bryan, so I look like a taller Daniel Bryan. And I shot that down because I said we have to be different.
Yeah.
So luckily at that point, I had no problems going to Vince and saying no for certain things, and then explaining why I didn't think it was a good idea, which to my benefit, I'm glad I did. But yeah, man, that was fun, because then instead they took the mask away from me, which was different and interesting. And that first day I was wearing this coveralls, and I was like, this doesn't feel like me. It's what am I going to wear underneath it? And I'm like, I love horror movies, and I love going, listening to metal and music and that's where I think the first day I wore the Tom Savini shirt because Savini made all my masks. And then just from there, I was like, I have all these metal shirts and I'll start wearing these underneath. Like, just if I'm going to be in the background, even with Bryan in the beginning, where I got to like go from background, tell the story of why I'm sick of being in the background. But if I'm going to be in the background, what's a way to stand out and be true to me? And I was like, well, I'll just wear shirts of bands I love, and in real life, and that's kind of what I did, and people noticed it, and so I guess that's me just always thinking about Easter eggs and things without speaking necessarily. Yeah.
And during that run, you had a good run with that. You beat Roman Reigns at one point, and you really getting into it. And me personally, I thought you were getting groomed, ready to go off then on your own, but I thought you were going to keep that character, because I thought once Bryan dropped out of there, I thought you were going to take it on then and crack on with that kind of character on your own, because for me, it was made for you. What happened there? Why didn't it go any further?
Because the draft happened.
Yeah.
And then when I did finally go over to Raw, they had me in a match where they had to get Seth over, because Seth was the champion and going to fight the Fiend.
Yeah.
So they had to have him beat a monster before he fought the Fiend.
Yeah. Yes.
Going to lose in Saudi. So unfortunately, I think I was just. I don't know why that they went from me being that character for one day on Raw, just switching and having me carry a cage weeks later. I don't know what the reasoning behind it was.
It's crazy.
But when you're told to every week to talk and then you're just told to be quiet, like there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, once you left WWE, obviously, and you've showed up. First time we seen you was at AEW. You turned up in AEW. Any plans to go there full time, or is it just going to be, as you said, you're keeping yourself as a nice independent contractor now and do what you want to do?
Man, I mean, I would love to go and have a feud, a story. I would love to go and have an actual story. That's what I liked going. There was a short little story where I got to be involved with the House of Black and Penta and Pac. Like that was fun because it was a couple days story. Like to me, that was cool. It was cool to come back, do a couple things, and then leave. There's so many guys I would hate to go and just take up space, take up a spot. I don't like it when guys go in, take up a spot, and they have no plans for them, and then they just sit there. Like, paychecks would be nice. Like, don't get me wrong, paychecks are always good. Like, thank you. But I want to perform too. Like,
you want more.
So like, I want to present the best part of myself at this point that I can.
Yeah.
And,
well, at the end of the day, you've earned your stripes now, haven't you? You should be at that point where you're entitled to do that now.
Well, it's wrestling. We're a dime a dozen here.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up now, Erick. Obviously, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. Just a couple of questions off the guys here, very quickly. So, first one: what was it like having to adjust back to the non-WWE style? Have you had to do much adjusting, or did you just fall back into it?
Wrestling is its style. That's wrestling. There's like, when it comes down to it, you're in between four posts, four sides of rope, and you wrestle in front of fans. So the people say WWE style, strong style, lucha style. Like, it's all one style. It's all professional wrestling. Like, to me, I don't get one. Like, it's
all the same.
People work this WWE style in AEW. Does that make it AEW style? It's just weird. Like, there's just different flavors of ice cream. Some people like to do matches that involve comedy. Some people like to do brawling matches. Some people like to do high flying matches. It's just all wrestling. Like, I don't like this whole WWE style thing because it's not a style.
That's it. Okay. Other one was, how did your relationship start with AEW? So how did you end up? Did you just come to? Was it Tony Khan who reached out to you, or was it somebody else?
I mean, luckily, when Brodie had passed,
Yeah, God bless.
Sean Spears had reached out about having me be involved in that, and to me, you know, it meant a lot because there's no funerals, and I really wanted to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And that was my first chance seeing where he was, that he was so happy at, you know, because he was having the time of his life when he was there. And fast forward, I hadn't heard from Tony. Like I didn't reach out, like, and then he just randomly reached out to me a few days before the show, and you know, I obviously agreed to do it because I was open that weekend minus the signing on Saturday. So I flew out on Friday, I flew signing on Saturday, and then flew back to do the show on Sunday. So
awesome.
You know, like it worked out that I could do it, and I'm always happy to do things if it's going to be a fun, you know, time seeing good faces and yeah.
Brilliant. And the very last question, this is the last one before we go. What woman wrestler would you have wanted to see as Sister Abigail in WWE? Ooh. If they ever brought a Sister Abigail in for you, who would you have used?
Luna Vachon.
Yeah.
If I just go for any female ever.
Yeah.
Know, because I could only imagine like her as that character. And the moment she like screams or speaks, you know what I mean? Just nice.
Yeah, I totally get it. Totally get it.
Just that voice.
Yeah. She was awesome, wasn't she? I don't know where a retro review of WrestleMania 10 today, and I said Bam Bam Bigelow and Luna versus Doink and Dink. It was one of the matches on it, and I was like, poor Luna. There was a women's championship match the very next match after, and I was like, she should have been in that, you know what I mean? She was just awesome. But Eric, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, pal. I've really enjoyed our conversation and stuff, and you know, thanks so much for joining me. And do you want to tell the guys what you're up to? Any plans you've got? Anything you want them to go and check out?
Is this air in the UK too?
UK, America, it's everywhere.
Okay. So UK in Manchester area, Grimfest. Closing out that will be Ghost of the Ozarks, a film I was a part of. So check that out. If you're in the US, it's already available on demand with Apple or Amazon. You can check me out at Erick Redbeard on Twitter, Instagram. I have a pro wrestling tees site. I'm on Cameo. If you want to show support, I actually have a shirt at grudgematchbrand.com. Also, you can check me out on Paramount Plus, Merrick Kingstown. I play the character of Big Beard, not to be confused with Redbeard. But yeah, man, just you never know where you're going to see me. That's what I like.
And I know you're obviously coming to Liverpool soon as well, which is good.
I will.
April, isn't it?
Are you the gentleman that I emailed about this? Is that your email?
Nope.
Huh?
Nope.
You'll have to get your email over to me so that I can.
Yeah, I will do. I'll email you.
Send you a message when I'm out there in Liverpool.
Yeah, I literally the convention centre that you're going to. I walk past that every single day.
You seem like a fun guy to translate for me at the pub.
Nah, I can't do, mate. No problem at all. I will get you around about and stuff like that. But Eric, thanks so much, guys. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, share the content for us, and join us. We'll be back later on today for Quiz Buddies. WrestleMania special before we got the final next week. So do join us. But once again, Eric, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it, mate.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers. Take care, Wrestle Buddies. Bye now.